on the other hand, now I haven't fired it. My Mac is really old G4. I haven't completed it up. I don't know. I can let the run. Okay. Probably once every window exactly come back.
Yeah.
There's something going on
Actually,
there. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, my ears are really bad.
Yeah.
I don't hear all that anymore, so it's definitely.
Yeah, there's several things in life that we just accept as part of life. We go listed for 2,000 people killed on 9/11. More than that die on a highway that's in the plane. And just the very
I've redone this thing now. See if they fixed it. They've sort of been it out.
No? Are you sure? Oh, well, you got...
Doesn't matter.
They haven't fixed that on the car.
I was going to see if we had another.
Looks like it worked out.
Oh, you got it on there?
Yeah.
Turn the projector on. Come on.
Projecting it.
There we go. Came in. Was up there a second. So this is the regular.
Yours can be happy.
There you go. Well, there it is.
No, you could, but it was lobster. Almost every piece is. No, it's fine.
Hello. Thank you for coming. Looking forward to your talk.
He was telling me all about how he got his colloquium written down and his little write-up, and then he couldn't find it. And I was like, I forgot. Maybe he's probably right.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another walking. Next week we will be visited by Professor Jung from the University of San Francisco. She will talk about JavaScript malware or malicious JavaScript. That's next week. Today I have the privilege to introduce to you to Dario Zea, who I think at one time used to sit where you were sitting, right?
I did, yes.
So he's here to talk about some commercial stuff. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Yeah, that's true. I'm a alumni here I graduated in 2004 from the Computer Science department, and I was like you guys, going through doing the hard work and going through everything I think as fast as I could. It was interesting. It was a great experience, and something that even up to this day has helped me where I am right now, and which is I work at a company called MarketLive. It's a company located in Petaluma, and the company provides services for eCommerce, and they basically provide try to provide a full solution from the software, the main engine that is used in these e-commerce websites, to the hosting and managed services, services that are usually involved, associated with this type of business. So what I'm going to do is basically go over a PowerPoint presentation that the company usually shows prospective new clients, where I thought it was a good way to introduce what the company does and at a high level what the services that are provided consist of. And towards the end, we'll focus a little more on the specifics of how everything comes together and what is it that we do, what especially on the team that I'm on. I specifically right now work with the team that provides the managed services and hosting, part of the company, and we are a team of about 10 system and network administrators, and we deal with basically the operations and the deployment of new clients, as well as supporting the existing client base, which is about 60 merchants that the company provides solutions for throughout the United States. So let's see. The MarketLive has been around for about, since 1996, you can do the math. It's actually in internet years, it's a long time. And they started providing services mainly on the Windows platform, using the ASP, technologies, Microsoft-based technologies. The environments back in the day that they used to deploy would be on dedicated servers and would be on data centers, really customized for a specific client. It will be about a set of 10 or 15 actual physical servers where the application will be loaded and it will be only accessible to the client, and there also part of the stack will be all the network infrastructure around that. So as the company started growing, that model became a little expensive, for clients as well as the company itself, because deploying the same set of the physical stack, is, as you can imagine, is it's expensive and also it's kind of wasteful because of so many resources. A firewall, for example, would it should be able to support multiple traffic for multiple clients, and deploying something for just one or two, is something really expensive, and those devices are expensive. How we spend. So this is something that at this point, MarketLive provides the services that are provided are towards a shared environment, kind of nowadays, kind of a cloud model, where clients are basically told that they're going to let us manage all of that infrastructure. All they have to worry about is basically managing and administering their e-commerce business, which is what most of them are interested in. So here's, at a high level, what the company offers to clients to eliminate single point of failures, which it's something that is at least at the physical and at the software level. It involves providing redundancy for every point of the infrastructure where traffic goes through. From a redundant set of firewalls, redundant set of load balancers, to the servers, to the database clusters, and also the shared storage that is usually associated with that. So in the environments that are currently deployed, where the infrastructure is hosted, consists of this redundancy, from every point of the stack. Again, we provide the hardware and the software. We have monitoring and processes in place to keep an eye and keep an eye basically on capacity and capacity management, which is what we go by a rule of thumb that don't allow any of the devices, anything in the infrastructure go over, any devices in the infrastructure go over 50% utilization. And if it does, it's an indication that it's time for us to scale. So and also in this e-commerce business, there is, as you might think, there are some policies and compliance called PCI, that stands for payment card industry, that is guided and managed by Visa, actually, that every company that does e-commerce business in the internet has to adhere to this PCI compliant. And what this means, it really is that there's a whole set of policies and procedures that the companies that provide these services that deal with credit cards have to follow and have to report on a yearly basis. There are audits that happen every year and throughout each quarter. So that's something that it's pretty big for clients and as well as for the company, because since we touch user data and especially credit cards, we're always responsible for that. Talk about managed monitoring. So for clients, I mean, the main offering basically for the infrastructure that MarketLive offers to clients is the high availability, which goes hand in hand with redundancy and capacity, right? Or at least there's a relationship there. So clients are always happy to see anything that reduce how much they have to pay usually. This is a high-level view. I'll show you later. I'll show you a more detailed a diagram of how we actually deploy environments. But this is a high-level view of what the pods within the infrastructure, how they are deployed, how they are built. Basically, the main point is to not have any single point of failure, right? Where the network is basically has high capacity, and at all the layers, basically there's a way for us to add more capacity as we need to. In the first part, in the figure above, you can see basically that's the representation of the three-tier architecture that is usually involved in this setups where you have a web layer, an app layer, and a database layer, and each one of them, we advertise having physical redundancy and ways for us to, always add capacity as we need to, in a horizontal way. Each one of the sites will need a level of or a layer for the integrations. What that means is basically a way for a data that is specific to a site to be added or exported from the system, right? Namely, in the e-commerce world, you're talking about products and categories, and any changes that a client needs to make, to their site. There are tools offered through the MarketLive engine to administer those changes and that data basically. So that's a layer that from the as far as the infrastructure is concerned, it should not conflict with the traffic, with the B2C traffic. When I say B2C, is the business to client, any type of traffic that the actual website is using. It's something that needs to be separated and segmented as well. Usually, this integration services layer, it's also where we deploy virtual private networks, and we also configure our firewalls to have access specifically to a certain corporate network or a set of corporate networks, and also all the data that goes through anything that's client related will be encrypted. So the hosting infrastructure. Currently, we've actually gone through the process of consolidating our data center. Actually, that's something that happened within the last 6 months. We used to have a data center in San Jose in Equinix, but we decided to move most of our hosting infrastructure to the Sacramento data center. It's a place called Raging Wire, and it's the location is pretty close to the Arc Arena, so it's about 2.5 hours from here. It's not too bad. But we do have technical staff on site, as well as remote access to all the systems from our headquarters. That data center, it's a place that has all the latest, security measures, and you have to they do like a biometric eye scan to get you in, and it's pretty fancy. But basically, what we have there is an entire cage that with about 15 cabinets, and a cabinet will have a stack of will host up to like 10 or 15 servers or network devices. Our NOC, which is the Network Operations Center, it's currently we have some stock here in the U.S., but part of it is also works off is offshore to India, and they've what basically that allows us to do is it's provide the 24/7 support that all sites have when they go live. And as far as the statistics, the numbers there, 100% redundancy on shared components. That's mostly it's referring to physical devices. As I mentioned, there is redundancy at every layer. The utilization policy, the 160 sites, which is divided sites. I mentioned we actually have about 60 merchants, but merchants will have multiple sites, right? And our availability is about 99.97, which is actually pretty good. This is an overview also on the network capabilities and the tools that are used by the NOC. As I mentioned, since all the components in every layer have redundancy physically, each one set of switches at the very first level are connected to redundant ISP internet drops, that are usually provided by different ISPs even, and that's a service that the data center provides to us. The VPN connectivity is something that, as I mentioned, something that clients will use for their integration services. The iSensor, the Secure Works iSensor, IDS, IPS, that's which stands for intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems. Those are devices that are actually managed by a separate company called Secure Works. That all they do is actually manage the devices and all the traffic that goes through the pipes, right? That's they get reports, and they get they actually report to us saying that they would detect a denial of service attack or some sort of in hacking attack attempt to any one of the sites which from the block that are associated with MarketLive. And they will also manage and report to us any changes that happen and for our network devices. If someone tries to write a configuration to a firewall, that gets pushed. The configuration gets pushed, but they also get notified. So we know. Usually, it will be something internal that we know that is happening. But that's, with a big environment, that's something really useful. The firewalls and the switches that we use, the company goes with Cisco. So that's something standard at this point. Imperva application firewalls, that's actually another level of protection in the pipe as the traffic comes through. And Imperva is actually a company that provides these what they call application firewalls, that their only purpose is to basically sniff traffic that comes through a site, and they have it's configurable, but they will have a set of rules, right, that and signatures that are would allow or deny traffic through, right? And this is a little bit different than secure works. Secure works will also work in a similar way where traffic is matched against some pattern, some rule signature, but it'll be mostly for like network specific, right? Like someone's trying to do a ping attack, or is trying to do do a half open connections to our network, or things like that. They would detect that. Once they pass that, if someone is trying to, let's say, hack a site by taking advantage of input validation that the code doesn't have, right? Take advantage of that and try to feed arguments to that. That's something that Imperva would detect and will block at that point. The next level is the load balancers. Right now, we go with F5 big IP load balancer, which are basically provide us a way to direct traffic to multiple nodes and provide also that redundancy that I've been talking about, right? Where what you do there is configure different nodes which are represented as different web servers, let's say physical machines, and the load balancer is basically reconnect. You configure the different nodes into what is called a pool that is associated with a site, right, or a specific IP address, that where the traffic is coming through, and basically the job of this load balancer is that, as its name says, to load balance the traffic. As requests come in, it will send requests to each one of the however many nodes you have in your backend, right? Usually web servers. Cisco routers and switches. So yeah, like I said, all network devices are Cisco. When we get to servers, the operating system that we run, we have migrated most of our sites off Windows. Right now, we have only a small cluster of Windows servers, and then we have a cluster of Linux servers. But the latest environment is deployed with Solaris, specifically Solaris 10. And so the Linux servers and the Windows servers will be Dell servers, and the Solaris ones we use Sun servers, which are basically the advantage there is at the application layer, where these servers actually have an array of different, depending on the type of they're really powerful as far as the number of cores, the number of physical CPUs, and the number of virtual CPUs, right? That in multi-threaded applications, well, that's a big advantage, right? Because each set of threads or set of cores within or set of threads, right, or lightweight processes within your application will take advantage of those physical CPUs that can work in parallel and not queue up. So that's one of the reasons why we went with that. And then for the network attached storage, which is basically the technology that allows us to have a single file system shared and mounted, from multiple servers, multiple machines. We use a company called NetApp, and they make those devices, and then there's another one called Scale Computing. And the SANs, the storage area network, that's something that we do. We use Hitachi. That's something that we use for databases and database clusters mostly. For the tools, I'll go over more in detail towards the end. But basically, at a high level, the tools that are used by the NOC are interfaces that have in the backend programs or scripts that are monitoring specific site or specific service or section within a site, and provide this this visual, sometimes even audible alarms and beeps, and so that's they have those tools available. Also, trend data. For trend data, there are tools that are used to graph, to graph some of the data, and it's useful to, especially for troubleshooting, to see if something is off the pattern, or sometimes there are tools built around this graphing tools that other tools on top of it that make depending on certain threshold, will fire an alert or notify someone. Then the ticketed the tracking system is something that's used across the company, not just in NOC, and it's a way for the operations. It's a pretty common way for an operations organization to work with when issues get reported and then how it gets resolved. Knowledge base, something that the way I translate that to something that I learned in computer science is documentation, right? Which is something that is hard. It's hard to do, right? And knowledge base is something that when an issue happens, when something occurs, a site goes down, and then the issue gets resolved. How do you track that, right? How do you usually people's head, and then they go home, and then 2 weeks later it happens again, and you start from base one, right? So there are tools that are wikis that are available to us, but the challenge is to make people actually write down and document what they did and what processes they follow, right? So performance reports. Then there are also tools that monitor the sites that are not completely managed by us, that are configured by us, but it's in the way of interest, I guess, for specifically for our clients, right? Since we provide availability reports, there are companies that provide these services, and we have deals with those companies that monitor our sites, the availability, and then they provide that's the report that's actually given to clients. So it's not something that we can manipulate in our end, and say, oh yeah, your site was up, and no, it's something that is not in our control. So it's every site does get that. When we get to the last section for our automated recovery and data gathering, that's more in the area of automation and ways for tools and scripts and programs that administrators will have to create, will have to write and maintain for processes to auto recover, right, and also to extract some as much data as possible when an issue happens. The system profilers, that's something also available. That's a way for those are tools that are used to plug into your application, right, and give you statistics as far as usually resource-based statistics in real time, and that's also useful for troubleshooting and for root cause analysis towards at the end of an issue. Let's see what else. This section is actually here to when we talk about security and PCI, which as I mentioned in the beginning, it's something fairly important to clients, because they have to when they process credit cards, basically they need to every site as well as the company itself will be audited on a yearly basis to get to become a PCI compliant service provider. So as far as the physical infrastructure, this is what a pre-standard offering, and something that the PCI basically demands for any service provider to have. But that's something that needs to go along hand in hand with processes. And so the main ones are basically the change control system and the audits, right? That's something in the operations world. That's something that is continuous. A set of policies that we need to follow, and there's actually a team within the managed services organization that handles. It's only a couple of people, but their main job is basically to set up those processes and to lay out the foundation for any new changes that need to. They'll be the ones that will approve changes to let's say adding additional access to a specific site. Everything needs to go through an approval process. At the end, they also the responsibility is to provide training for security in the code, which is it comes down basically to I would say like 60% of the time, data input validation, which is something that it's seems trivial, but it's not that trivial when especially with these complex applications. The next two slides are basically show the escalation procedure, right? As a system and an outage is detected, this is something that the NOC is in the first line of defense. Since they have all the tools that show this data, they would get alerted, and their job is basically to use some of the other tools that they have at their disposal to validate that it's actually something happening, that that a site is suffering some sort of either attack or is some, maybe in a lot of cases is the application itself after a new deployment that is having issues. So they will need to validate that and try to resolve on their own, or escalate, and that's when you start entering into the nature of being on call and being and being available basically on a 24/7, which is it can be depending on the person, right? It's something you either enjoy or don't like at all, right? Being called like at 2 in the morning for to troubleshoot an issue, to extract data from an app instance that went down or something. So basically, this is the process that they follow. So the idea here is that when a site is having some sort of problems, that the merchants are aware that the team is on it, and throughout this different levels of escalations, they get updates, and as well as we. If it's something that is triggered by them, we invite them into the call, and they would, they will get involved at that point and help us fix it. These are the descriptions, high level of what is that considered as severity 1 or severity 2 issue for a specific site, and basically, it's more detailed on what I talk on the last slide. So let's get to, now that we're here on this part now that we've seen, what services are offered, by MarketLive, what is it that we do, and how the operations team kind of works, I wanted to show you too what, in a little more detail, I talked about it in a previous slides of how do we deploy a production environment. For the physical infrastructure, basically, we use, as I mentioned, Cisco for switches, firewalls, for F5 big IP for load balancers, NetApp, Hitachi for NAS and SAN, and servers. We are going with a Sun Oracle servers now that Oracle took over Sun. The Sun Solaris is actually now the Oracle Solaris operating system too. And speaking of the software stack for the operating system, one thing that we actually take advantage with the Sun Solaris 10 operating system is their feature for virtualization. They've actually have this technology that they call containers and zones that basically allows you to create another instance of the operating system within that same operating system, within that same OS, and they're called zones. And that's it's very similar to you might have maybe heard of VMware, where they also provide that facility for virtualization. But the Sun Solaris is something that you can. The Solaris 10 is something that you can deploy on a server, and it's the zone, the main zone that is running on the server is the global zone, and within that one you can create additional zones, right? And those you will assign a specific IP address and any other properties that are usually associated with an OS deployment, and those will look from the outside when someone connects as a new server, as a different server for anyone, right? And we currently use that in our environments to make the segmentation for the different versions of the application engine that we run. As I said in the very beginning, MarketLive has been around for a long time, so as you can imagine, they have multiple versions of their engine. But luckily for us, we can break those down into two main ones: the resin servlet container, as you can see in the app layer, and a Sun Glassfish container. So what we do there is we break down within a server. We'll deploy a couple of zones, and then we'll deploy the resin versions of the instances into one zone, and then the Glassfish ones into a different one. So the app layer, where the main application is hosted, it's what we use. The technology used there right now is Java, J2E, and for things like search and other or integrations, is currently they use they expand the Apache Solr as well as the Enterprise Service Bus. Hibernate, it's something that is used for what is called is referenced to as a second level cache, which allows you to within the JVM instance cache results or queries that were made to a database, just so you're not connecting to a database every single time you need to. Basically, all the results are cached within the instance, so communication with the database is reduced a lot, and that's important because there can be a lot of traffic going back and forth. Oracle 11G is the latest version that is used for build deployment. This is something that is Ant, and then Anthill, which is kind of like a tool that taps into Ant and allows to deploy and build packages. When you're building your code base to deploy, right? and that actually works along with a code repository, which is SVN actually, what is used there. For authentication, it's we're still running Active Directory since that's something that we're planning to migrate last into some sort of Unix-based authentication and LDAPs, and it's still Windows because our initial environments were Windows. CDNs, that stands for Content Delivery Network, and these are services that are used to cache some of your content, your site content, out in the cloud. Akamai is a company that provides those services, and what it does is basically you configure your site to use along with Akamai to use that as your caching part of the stack. When users hit your site, usually the first request will come through our network, our infrastructure, but subsequent requests will come from that node that is provided by Akamai. So this is something that is useful not only for performance but also for in security when a denial of service attack is detected, where through DNS and through this service of CDN, we can mitigate an attack and say, we're detecting something coming from this part of the world, this set of IPs, and those requests will stop there, somewhere in the cloud. They don't come to us, as we detect them, as we work with them. And for external DNS, we use a company called Ultra DNS, and that's how we actually provide DNS services to our clients. Some time ago, we tried to be in the business of providing DNS by hosting our own DNS service, but it's much better to use another service that allows us to enter, configure our clients' data in there. So that's actually the last one. So for monitoring and troubleshooting, as I mentioned before, the NOC actually uses a lot of these. They use a lot of these tools, but the administrators, the working in managed services organization, we are mostly in charge of maintaining a lot of these tools, and we use them at a different level, right? We use them to provide root cause analysis for whatever might happen during an outage. And basically, we have an array of tools. It's a combination of open source and proprietary. The JVM, which stands for Java Virtual Machine, we've got the Visual VM Threat Analyzer, which is a way to see, what a Java process may have been doing at a specific point in time, right? There is the profilers, like the one called Ventus Analyzer, App Dynamics. Those are tools that actually plug into your Java process and allow you to view statistics about memory utilization, threads and also logs and things like that. Real-time tools, since we use the Apache web server, we tap into some of the tools provided there to see, what the requests are coming in and how, child processes within an Apache process are performing. FireChief, that's actually a tool that was created in-house, and that was a tool that will detect issues in real time and restart instances as they as needed, right? Since sometimes it will be the case where a particular application instance is having a problem. It's the process is run out of memory or something. It's not releasing, and there will be tools that this tool will detect that by getting the stats for the process memory consumption, and then if it goes over a threshold, automatically restart it and then report on what is it that it did. Perl is the language of choice that is used for administration automation. Keynote is actually the company that I mentioned that we use that provides availability reports to us. MRTG, Cacti, WStats, all those open source tools that have been customized within our organization to provide us with the data that we want, as well as Nagios, and then the OEM tools for Oracle that also provide you, a good rate of statistics, when you're troubleshooting. So I want to show you two here. This is okay. This is a diagram that shows the deployment, one of the iterations actually, but it's not that long ago, of how our physical servers and our zones, remember I talked about zones within each one of those servers are deployed. And basically, as you can see here, the top row is actually represents the web layer in this graph. And as you can see, we've got 4 different zones, 4 different instances, that host a different function for clients. In the case of the top ones, or actually the first one and the second one, like that, those will provide Apache services for our resin sites, and the second one for our Glassfish sites. This second section from here, up to here, that's a representation of our app layer, which is basically these are zones that will host the JVM application instances for different clients. And usually it will be as a particular client. For example, we use a set of 3 servers, right? And then a set of 3 web servers as well. The other part shows you the staging, which is it's instances of the application that provide the tools to administer and change data and do all the integration part of it. The last section is kind of what we call our services VLAN, services network, that provides services for the application instances, right? This is something that the JVMs will connect to these servers at specific IP and port or name and port, and we use search, or we use some of the integrations and functions. So I knew this was going to be a little hard to read, but it is kind of a big graph. So, but in a way, it does represent what the deployment for one merchant, right? Okay, time? Okay. So yeah, sure.
What is the difference in cost between the NOCs that are in India and here?
The different costs for the company itself. That's, as you can imagine, it's a lot of savings.
Right. Also, is the size much different? Like, you have a lot more.
Right, and that's in there's a set of about 10 or 15 administrators in India. What happens though is the company would do business with a company in India that provides those services. So we don't actually hire the people there individually, right? We will do business with another company that actually provides. They are in charge of finding the people that provides those, right? So. Unfortunately, I don't have the specifics of how much, but as I mentioned, we do have a U.S. team here, and basically that's something that is needed. It doesn't matter how many people we have there. I mean, it's kind of like the second line of defense, and even the third line of defense, right, for the experienced administrators. So. It's something that we've been doing it for a couple of years, and by now, it's something that we're always going to have U.S. Administrators here as well as in India. Yes?
With all the different monitoring systems you guys have and the number of instances, zones, and so on and so forth that you're monitoring, I can imagine that's producing a massive amount of data about the state of your systems.
Right.
How are you guys managing to not be overwhelmed by that data onslaught?
We do that basically by creating a subset of graphs and subset of monitors that provide us with a high-level view of what's going on. Right? We find it interesting that when you start gathering data from different sources, and then you just start graphing it, even though they may not seem related. When you start seeing graphs and seeing patterns on a graph, you start seeing that over time. Some of those patterns correlate. Some of those patterns, and they're especially interesting when you start laying it on top of each other. So basically, it's kind of like seeing the whole, without necessarily knowing about the details. And if when you see dips and or changes, drastic changes from those patterns, that's when you start digging, into the details. So that's one way that we, don't let ourselves get overwhelmed with all the data. Just grab, certain points of certain parts of our data points, inputs from our systems, and then graph them out or write a report and start seeing the patterns there.
Thanks very much.
Sí, también. Okay. ¿Hace cuánto estás aquí? ¿Estás haciendo Computer Science?
Yo estudié aquí, pero luego me fui a otro.
Okay, so my students who are coming in, right? We need to turn half the chairs around.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so half the yeah, so all we need to do is, well, the first, yeah, we just turn that around, and then every other chair.
There's going to be no chair focused off I don't know, so
Okay, you'll have plenty of time. Yes, you will. A lot of you will be out less than an hour. So, there's a missing chair there, right?
Yeah.
If we need it.
I know it's what it is, but I don't know how.
Okay, now you probably really don't need a calculator. Okay, so go ahead, notes away. We'll get started. As I said, you'll have plenty of time. Most of you be done before the class. So 1, 2. Okay, now let me just make a couple of comments. So you got the extra credit. If you're not sure, skip the extra credits, do the required question. The numbers in parentheses are the points for that question out of 100 points. Okay? Don't spend all day on a question worth, a few points. Question 2. There's 3 parts to it. If you know how to do it, it's going to require careful reading on your part. But you should be able to figure it out. Everything else should be straightforward. Make sure you actually read the question before you start to answer it.